All systems are a go.
Confirming all systems are a go. Launching the podcast.
3, 2, 1.
This is Hello from Mars.
I feel like this episode needs to start with a group sing-along of Happy Birthday just because our queen, she's a beauty who is older than sliced bread, and she has been all of our friend for a very, very long time. Miss Betty White, she celebrated her 99th birthday on Sunday, and I feel like her surviving 2020 is, one, a miracle, but also proves she's completely invincible and possibly a superhero, and she could save me any day. So big happy birthday to her, and I hope that she had a fantastic celebration in whatever she did. And please stay safe, because we need you to celebrate 120, maybe 140. Just stick around is what we're saying. Also, probably because she's most likely the first person who's watching this on YouTube, but my mom, happy birthday, celebrating on Wednesday. I will not tell you how old she is, but she's not 99. I'll tell you that much right now. But I don't need to be grounded at the age that I am. So we're going to keep that right inside. Anyway, happy birthday, Mom. It's been weird. I was planning on keeping my Christmas decorations up for a very long time. And I think like all the cards that I got from everybody, they're going to stick in the hallway for a while. But this overnight schedule that I've been working, I've just been up at really weird hours, even on days off. So the other day I woke up at 2 a.m. wide awake and was just like, you know what? Tree's got to come down. It just does. So here I was at like 4 o'clock in the morning, destroying my Christmas tree, which, by the way, is on the other side of this wall in like 2 giant pieces. So is it okay for it to stay in a basement like that all year round? I'd say asking for a friend, but I just told you it was me, so never mind. Anyway, let's get into Tops and Pop.
Tops in Pop.
It's been an interesting week of things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily expect to have happen, like this very first story that I'm going to share with you. So Post Malone, rapper, decided that it was a good idea to go ahead and donate thousands of pairs of designer Crocs to frontline workers. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, just saying they probably didn't care if they were designer or not, but it is like the only field that makes sense to have Crocs, and the only reason that they probably should have been created in the first place. There are people that will just swear to me that they are the coolest shoe ever, and I don't know when they became a thing where it was like, I don't know, cool to wear Crocs, but people are doing it, and I'm just going to say it's not going to be me anytime soon. So there's that. Dr. Dre, I talked to you guys about him last week. He had suffered a brain aneurysm. He was in the ICU. He was doing better. He is doing better. He is at home, but he is with health assistance right now. So prayers continued going to him in his recovery. Demi Lovato, she has been in recovery for the last couple of years since her overdose. That happened in 2018, and she is now going to be freely talking about it in a brand new documentary series that's going to be hitting YouTube coming up on March 23rd called Dancing with the Devil. It is the first time she's going to be publicly speaking about her heroin overdose and all the demons that go along with that and why she was in her darkest time. Because it turns out she was filming a documentary at the time. So we're going to see her basically at her worst. And she's going to be talking all about it. So the first 2 episodes they're saying are going to be streaming for free. I don't know what that means for the following 2. But you can see that again premiering March 23rd on YouTube. And just in typical what the hell fashion, I get it. We all want normal life, right? But in Houston, Texas, 24,000 new cases popped up of COVID on Friday alone, right? And then this past weekend, Bow Wow played a show that had way too many people in a club, like sardines, like scrunched together, no masks, just, whatever. And there were a lot of tweets that came out about it, basically being like, yeah, there's a lot of things that I'd probably risk my life for. A Bow Wow concert isn't one of them. So yeah, but I don't know, guys, please make the smart choices. We're stuck in this like weird place right now because of people like that. Like, stop being selfish for like 5 minutes. Can we please? So I've got an amazing guest coming back. He actually helped kick off the podcast with me, and he seems like a fan favorite. Well, I mean, I obviously I knew that was going to be a thing, and that's why I said right off the bat he'd be back. So he is, and that is my bestest buddy, Bill. So get ready for what is going to be, I'm sure, a ridiculous time.
This episode brought to you by Diet Dr. Thunder. It's not.
It's not.
I brought this with me.
But if Walmart suddenly wants to sponsor, I am totally okay with that.
Can I get some kickbacks?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Bill, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Ever since I watched and listened to your podcast, I was like, I love listening / watching. It reminds me of when I used to listen to you on the radio when I was getting ready to go to my janitor job in like 2009. And I was like, I cannot wait to go back. Also, I couldn't wait to come back and visit you just because we're friends. But
well, yeah, duh.
It's exciting. I'm glad to be here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'm glad that it gives you that kind of nostalgic feeling because I feel like that might be how other people are reacting as well.
I hope so.
Because, it's been one of those weird situations for me, like, radio career of 15, 16 years and then suddenly, pandemic. And not being on, it's very weird. And that's why I wanted you to come in today too, because I feel like everybody's having this happen, but we are very specifically, I feel like, going through this right now where it's like, I don't even want to call it a 2020 thing because now we're into 2021. So it's just we're in this pandemic era of, I never thought that I would do this, but and I want to do a segment with you, too, in a little bit where we just kind of run through a whole bunch of things.
Oh, good, because I'm prepared.
Yeah, good.
That was the cause of my devilish grin that you wouldn't have seen if you weren't watching at youtube.com/Hello from Mars. Is that the actual address?
No, but search Hello from Mars podcast and you'll find it out. I think you have to be a pro on YouTube in order to have a specific URL.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's probably true.
And I'm not pro status yet.
That's not yet.
We're growing. Okay, we're growing. But you know what I was thinking before? All of a sudden, I just pictured you and I being Seth and Amy on SNL.
On Weekend Update.
Remember when they were really? Yeah. So yeah, I have something that I would like to do.
Oh, perfect.
In a little while, but in the last week for me. Because you know that I started this seasonal overnight job. I want to state too that when I applied for this job, it was a seasonal part-time stocking job overnight at a big hardware department store, right? I am not part-time. I am working 45 hours a week. I am not stocking. I am breaking down steel shelves and then placing them back up. And I am very tired, and that's why my voice sounds like this.
Would it be offensive to say you sound tired? Because I know when
Thank you.
come in and people are like, yo, you look tired, and it's like...
Why not? My grandmother does it all the time. You look so tired, sweetie. Thank you. That's the nice way of saying, hey, you look like trash.
Well,
cool.
Sometimes you don't look like trash. You do just look tired. I look tired a lot, and I never look like trash, especially with this ring light. But I've been getting ample rest lately, and we'll get to that when we get to the list of things that you never thought you'd have to do but did because of a pandemic. But also, it's not seasonal anymore, so you're beyond seasonal?
Oh, I'm beyond seasonal. Apparently, I was hired for this specific store reset project without kind of realizing that I was hired for this store reset project. And it goes for 6 weeks, which is totally fine because obviously I need the money. But it's just not what I was expecting. The ad said you should be able to lift up to 40 pounds, which I can. I just didn't realize it was going to be for 10 hours straight.
Oh, yeah. See, I sort of want a job like this because I want to be active in moving things around and
Dude, I have slimmed right down. Yeah. Last night specifically too, okay, there's the decking that goes on these steel shelves, right? So it's the grates that the product goes on. I went to bring a bunch of them outside and the platform just went and it just fell, all of them. There was 15 of them. So I'm like, great, cool. So I'm one by one putting them back up and my core was on fire, right? So then I go in, I'm like, I'm fine. I go to do other things and I'm bending over and I'm putting things on this pallet. And I was bent over at one point. I go, oh, I don't know if I can get back up. And that's not like, oh my God, I'm old. That's like, I think my six-pack is forming.
You're cramping.
It was a cramp.
Yeah.
It was a cramp in my diaphragm, because if it was pulled, I would still be having problems right now. But I had to sit down for like probably 30 minutes until we went to our 4 a.m. break. And then another like 15 minutes in that break. And by the time I was done, I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like I have to hunch over and press on my stomach anymore. So I think we're on the mend. And yeah, that six-pack is starting to form nicely. So we're good. Cool.
What was the thing about working in radio is that's what made me fat. And also, like, having a girlfriend at the time. Those are two things that you don't want to do, is get into a relationship and have a job where you're, like, largely sedentary. Because I was working as a janitor for, like, the better part of 3 years. And so I was on my feet all the time moving around, and I was relatively slim. I didn't pay attention to my diet at all. And then I kept not paying attention to my diet, and I just ballooned up by, like, 40
not
pounds.
paying attention to your diet. Are you kidding?
Super pay attention to my diet. I started over the summer, and I lost a bunch of weight. And I finally gotten down, like, back down to where I was when I was a janitor. But yeah, that's, I mean, like, I kind of want to maintain that without having to think about it. I still want to go to the gym, obviously, because we got to get big and strong. But I also want to have a job where I'm not just sitting at a desk all the time. And I mean, like, radio's not just sitting at a desk. You also sometimes go to the studio where you kind of just sit
in
or
the studio.
Stand. I used to stand, but it's still, you're not moving at all. So this is your career trajectory is what I aspire to, basically. You have always been a role model to me, like in the radio sense, and now in the post-radio, the apocalyptic 2020 to 2021 pandemic days.
Yeah.
So thank you for being my guiding light.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoy what I've been calling my holdover job, because that's what it is. I mean, they've basically been like, hey, do you want to stay on after? I'm like, is it going to be this? They're like, no, we're going to put you in the freight, because my first week, it was stocking shelves, because they were like training me. So I was unloading a truck, putting things on pallets, bringing them to the right departments, and then stocking shelves or top stock. And basically, like, that's what I thought I was going to be doing. And that's what I will go back to doing. And I will gladly do that, because they also only work 4 days a week, whereas right now I'm working 5. Okay. And that's where the catch up of the sleep is very difficult. Mm-hmm. And I need to.
You said you woke up at 1:30 today, and that's like, I don't know if I call that the dream. The dream is basically what I'm living right now, or like noon 30. But I mean, I used to get up at 3 p.m.
But what time did you go to bed at?
Like 6, 7
a.m.
Between 4 and 6 a.m. Yeah.
And you got up at noon, and you're okay?
Well, last night I went to bed at like 3. But yeah, no, like when I was working nights, I would regularly go to bed between like 4 and 6 and get up at 3 p.m. Which, that's like a lot of sleep. If I didn't get like 10 hours of sleep when I was doing that, I felt like I didn't get enough.
Well, you're also not doing, like, that's the difference, I think. Like, you're at home and you're doing what you want and whatever, whereas I'm literally you're working out for 10 hours.
Yeah, you're doing like grueling physical labor.
Like, all of us at this point, because we're like 3 weeks into the project, like, all of us. I'm working with like a couple like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and they're all like, yeah, I feel like death.
Okay, all right. Well, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old, there's a distinct difference between that and being over 30.
But here's the thing, though, is that's how hard this is. That's why this is garbage trash.
They
I don't like it.
Toughen up. That's what I'm saying, okay? I'm going to put on my boomer hat and be like, yo, toughen up. Not everything's handed to you in this life, because seriously, you don't appreciate how strong and how energetic your body is until it's like when you hit 30, it's like bang, everything shuts down. Things start breaking for no reason. You get random pains. Like your metabolism just stops and you just inflate. And you got to work really hard if you don't want to be in that zone, which I decided like 3 years ago I didn't want to be in that zone anymore. And it's been working well, but like you have to work so much harder when you're over 30 than you do when you're like in your late teens, early to mid 20s.
But they don't understand that.
Off.
They don't understand that. And you know what they do? They drink like 2 or 3 energy drinks a night, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna just pass out one day on the floor and I'm not gonna know what to do.
I used to bring a liter to work of Soda Stream energy drink.
I remember.
Yeah, so like I was fond of those days, but they don't last forever. I guess that's what I'm saying here.
So what is something that was during this pandemic era that Bill has been like, yep, never thought I'd do that.
All right, well, once again, I brought my handy-dandy...
Here it comes. I had a feeling.
Because I could not... Hold on, I got to flip through the pages here. I use this for everything. I compiled a list, and the problem is that I didn't put the list in sequential order. I just wrote it. So, like, okay, here's part of the... Like, that ring light is
it's
just...
fine.
Yeah.
But don't go through all of them, because remember, I have something.
I figured maybe we would... Are we going to go back and forth on this? Or
yeah.
Yeah. So I numbered them in order.
I'm just going to be pulling them from here.
I'm not
so you may have way more than I do, because I might not remember all of mine.
I've got 8. Because I want to make sure. This list is things I've done since the pandemic that I never thought I'd do, parentheses from Mars Podcast 1721. I wrote this yesterday.
Okay.
Would you like me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Number 1, I have been gainfully unemployed for over a year, including collecting government checks that raised my income to twice what it was when I was working. For 12 weeks over the summer. I made more money in my life this summer, or than I ever have in my life.
That is, I can attest to that for myself, because I think I may have told you, like, I have more money in my bank account than I've ever had in my bank account, and that's including when I bought my house.
I've been a state-sponsored bum, basically, for, like, over a year. That's, like, slightly hyperbolic. It's not like I've just been sitting on my butt. I have been doing things. But, you know, like, being unemployed and having the government just go, here's money. It's like I already had money saved up because I knew when I started in radio, I was like, I'm going to get fired someday. I don't know why. I'm probably going to say something that pisses somebody off. I didn't think it would be my boss who threw a temper tantrum and ended up firing me. I thought it would be something that, like, the audience was like, that's offensive, and, you know, like, called for my head. But I knew that someday I'd get fired, and I was like, so I'm going to save up money. And I had a bunch of money saved up, and then the government was just like, well, okay, just, like,
Here, have some more
on the stack. And I was like, oh, you know, okay, sure. I don't have to get a job for even longer. That's what I'm doing. I'm actually not collecting money currently, but I have so much saved up that I don't need to. Maybe this probably makes me sound like Marie Antoinette, like this, you know, don't come for me with the guillotine, please, is what I'm saying.
Off with their heads!
I just know how to manage my money, that's all. It's not like, I mean, you know, you don't get rich from being in radio. I have very low living expenses.
I mean, I did well when, at one point, oddly enough, though, I made my most in Boston, and I was my poorest, because Boston, you're very freaking expensive, just in case you're wondering. So what else? Give me something else before we do our thing.
Let's flip the page to number 2. I had to skip the movie theater for over a year. The last movie I saw in the theater was Knives Out on January 2nd, 2020. I have not... Whoa, hold on. I'm out of control. I have not been to a movie theater since then. And that kind of grieves me, and it seems like the movie theater business may not recover. I
have seen too many people say that they like the download at home, like on demand thing better, and I can get it to an extent, but there's something about the experience about going to a movie, even if it's a crappy movie. Like, even if you walk out of there going, you know what, didn't like that. It's kind of like going to a concert. Like, you know,
it's a social thing. It's something to do.
Yeah, and it's just an experience in itself. So, I mean, for people who say that, I get it. But, like, I was going to the movie theater by myself when I was living in Boston because it was something different to do, and it was fun, and it was an outing. And, yeah, it got me around people because I had weird hours, so I was never really around people.
I used to go to the movie theater by myself, rarely during the Movie Pass days, but I don't want to jump the tracks and start talking about Movie Pass, although I could. I mean, you
could go on about anything.
I monologue for, hours at a time, probably.
About anything.
My roommates would attest to that.
I can attest to that, and I'm not a roommate.
Should I carry on with my list? Should I just keep going until...
No, I think what I want to do now, then, since you have a list, I want to get into a segment that I would like to call, But Here We Are.
Okay.
So I want you to state, like, this is what happened during the... I never thought that I would do this, but here we are.
But here we are. Okay. Well, let's take a look. Oh, yeah. This is perfect. Item number 3 on my list. I never thought I would wear a mask into a bank like a bandit. But here we are. Every time I go into the map, I'm like, yes, look at me. It's the old West. I'm about to rob the job. I'm not, obviously. I'm just going to usually make a deposit.
My thing, so not only the mask, but at work, I wear a box cutter right now. So I'm like walking around with my mask on and I got my hand on my box cutter and I'm like, we're going to have a duel. On the count of 3. Yelly belly, whatever.
Well, actually, this sort of ties into an item that I had later on my list. But I started walking a lot over the summer. I would go walk 5 miles a night. And then when things started to get really bad with the protests and the curfews and stuff over the summer, I was like, okay, so I don't know what's going to happen and I like to walk after dark, because I like it not having to run into anybody on the street or whatever. And so I would walk around, and then I also watched this movie where this girl gets kidnapped and put in a barrel, and it made me super paranoid. So I was like, all right, I'm not walking around without some way to protect myself. So I started wearing a belt.
Not gonna walk around barrels.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on that. I started wearing a belt, a tool belt, with a hatchet attached to it. So I was like, all right, if anybody comes up to me, I'll just hatchet him.
Wow, you're true apocalyptic Bill.
Look, you got to be prepared. If we've learned anything from the last 9 months or so, it's that you can never be too prepared.
That is very true. So for me, I never thought that I would watch basically everything, every single thing that you could watch on Netflix that made me go, you know what? Maybe I will look at that Miley Cyrus movie and try to give it a chance. But here we are.
There's an Ariana Grande one that just came out a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you've seen that.
So that's a documentary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about Miley Cyrus, acting.
Movie. Oh,
she's got that movie, LOL. I might be that desperate. So here we are.
Well, allow me to make a recommendation. Have you watched BoJack Horseman yet?
I have not.
Oh, okay. You gotta get on it. Every time somebody's like, what should I watch next on Netflix? I'd be like, the answer is always BoJack Horseman. And then they'll be like, oh, looks like I'm going to watch The Office for the 82nd time. Fortunately, now The Office isn't on Netflix anymore, so maybe you can actually take my suggestions, you dummies.
So I guess I'm going to watch an adult cartoon.
Please do. It's so good.
So here we are.
It's so good. It's so good.
All right, give me another one.
Okay, number 4, woodworking. I never thought I'd do woodworking. But here we are. I have done it because the gym's closed down and we needed to be able to lift at home. So we made my brother-in-law Steven ran point on this. Actually, I'm not supposed to. No, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. It's sort of a secret that he's married to my sister. They're engaged, but okay. So backstory. She wanted to get married, and he's from England, so they kind of needed to get married pretty quickly. But they didn't want people who were her friends from college to be offended not being invited to the very, very small wedding they were having. And they're planning on having another wedding in a couple of years when they got money, say, they're a reception. So it's sort of a secret that they're married. But I just blew it on this podcast, so whatever. Anyway, Steven...
Don't worry, they don't listen.
He's the guy who kind of is like, yes, we're going to do woodworking. And I was like, all right, I'll hold stuff and I'll, help you drill things and hammer and wood glue, whatever. But we built a bench to bench press on. We built a rack to do said bench presses with. It also doubles as a squat rack. We built a dip bar to do, tricep dips on. Mm-hmm. And did we build anything else?
You never got to get the shed, right? That was
we were looking into that. Yeah, no.
They were basically going to build their own outside guest home gym. Guest housey sort of thing.
Yeah, over the summer we had a screen house, a gazebo that we were using as the gym, and unfortunately...
It got cold.
It got cold, it snowed 2.5 feet, and the gazebo is no more. And our equipment may be no more, but the gyms are open, so we can at least go back now. But yeah, that was just something that I never thought I would do, was build my own gym equipment. I mean, look, 4 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that I would be working out, let alone going out of my way to go to the hardware store, buy a dang miter saw so we can chop wood in half, so we can build gym equipment in our back friggin' yard.
Everything he just said, my mind is blown, but here we are.
It's like Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran, everything has changed. Do you remember that song?
Yes.
Okay, good. I figured you would. But that's kind of...
I actually forgot they had a song together.
Or was it Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift? I think it's Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift.
I mean, it almost doesn't matter.
You're right.
Especially anybody else that's listening right now is going, he just said that. Mm-hmm. He just flipped it. What does that matter? It matters.
Oh, look, I'm very pedantic when it comes to so-and-so featuring so-and-so. So it's embarrassing to me if I get it wrong.
Parentheses.
Wait, hold on. I threw my notebook on the ground by accident.
I don't know if that was by accident. I feel
No, I threw it on purpose, but it wasn't supposed to go on the ground.
That was very vigorous.
It was a mic drop moment.
I'm trying to think of something else that I've done that I never thought that I would do. Oh, I mean, everybody's groceries. Literally everybody's groceries. I never thought I'd go to Walmart 3 times in one day to buy all the groceries, but here we are.
So were you just going, doing a run, coming back, dropping it off, going out again? Like,
yeah.
Like, my car's too full. I can't fit everything I need.
Well, it's not even, like, the first time I went, I did try to do my parents and Nana at the same time, and you just can't fit it all in the cart. And can I tell you, a couple weeks ago, I went to do my parents. I was like, I'm going to make this easy for myself. It's a Saturday. I don't want to go to Walmart. That's ridiculous. It was a Saturday after Christmas, actually. I'm like, that's dumb. Like, I'm not doing that.
That's bad news.
So I went to Athannaford down the street, and their carts are like half the size of Walmart. So I went to do my parents' shopping, and I was almost immediately like frustrated because it was just overflowing, like within 10 minutes of being in the store. And I would say that's because my mom just loves food, but it's, I mean, she does, but like she bakes and stuff all the time. So it's like she uses everything I get, but it's 2 weeks of shopping at one time. And yeah, it's a lot. So there's something I never thought I'd do. I also never thought with this overnight job that I could say one day that I was helping move a steel aisle on roller skates, because we have to put them on skates, and then have my pinky toe rolled over and break it.
That is classic.
But here we are.
Mar.
But here it is classic, Mar.
Reminds me of the time when you smashed your finger moving tables together when My Crazy Girlfriend, the band, the group.
That probably doesn't exist anymore, by the way.
Their Twitter, they follow me on Twitter, but their Twitter is private and they haven't tweeted anything in like 2 years. I don't know what happened. There was some drama in that group.
So I messed up my finger for a band that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
I basically disbanded my finger for a band that disbanded.
And you think you got it bad. I then had to host the event.
Well, I'm so sorry that I had to go to the emergency room.
Oh, you were just bleeding all over the floor, but you can't interview the group and watch them play their dang song.
No, that was like a horrible, horrible experience because I caught my pinky between 2 tables in the multimedia room. And I guess I did, like, I thought with my toe, I thought I moved my foot quick enough. I thought I moved my hand quick enough. And I was like, oh my God, I think I broke my finger. Like, that was my instant reaction. And then I looked down at it and I'm like, oh my God, my nail is hanging off of my finger. And so I ran into that private bathroom that was in that room. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, my pinky looks like something that came out of The Walking Dead. Like, it looked like zombie finger. Like, it was, ugh. So it was making me sick to my stomach looking at it. So my instant reaction was, hey, rip the nail off.
Oh, God,
like, just get it off.
Okay, there are certain things that just like make me cringe and make my skin crawl.
It
and,
still
like,
makes my skin
coming
crawl.
Off is that type of thing.
Dude, it looked like a fake nail. That's how it slid right off my hand.
This is like a genuine visceral reaction.
Yeah.
I can't.
So no blood in my face at all at this point. Like, I am just the palest of pale. Like, I am the whitest sheet possible. And I remember, like, our cubicles were on the other side of the wall. And I knew people were there, but I'm like, I can't do anything at the moment. Like, I can't make noise. I'm like ready to throw up or pass out. I don't know what's happening. I had my phone and I had called Chrissy. I'm like, I'm in Morels' bathroom. Help.
I'll have to tell you the story from my perspective after this, because I wasn't there for this part.
So she comes dashing in, and I think Jess may have been with her. I don't know who put a chair behind me, but they put it at the perfect time because that was when my legs were like, we're going to give out now. And I never passed out, but I was very close to a lot of bad things happening. I'm like, I don't know what end things are going to come out of. There's already enough coming out of my pinky. I'm pretty sure that I'm dying. and then she had to drive me like in a fury over to the urgent care that was in Latham. And by the way, I don't know if they're going to get mad at me for saying this, but don't freaking go there because they didn't stitch it up enough. And by like a couple hours later, my bandage was just like soaking wet, like because it just kept bleeding. And I had changed it a couple times. And I remember that, like, somebody later was like, do you want me to bring you somewhere? And I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want it to be better. So from your perspective, what happened?
I mean, I was just, sitting at my desk bebopping and show prepping like I do every day. And I think it was Allie who came out and was like, "So, Bill." And I thought
That's
she said,
a good Allie.
Marissa had to go to the emergency room. She might have said urgent care, but I remember I thought it was emergency room.
That was such a good Allie. I'm sorry.
Would you be able to host the event? And I was like, I mean, yeah, what's going on? And she was like, she had had an accident with her finger moving some tables together. And also, not to mention, I want to get some bonus points here because I had to finish moving the tables, not just host the event.
And carefully.
Yeah. But you know what? That's what we call improvisation. You got my back, I got yours. It's all good.
I got to send that to Allie, by the way, because that whole, "So, Bill," that is...
She has a good bedside manner, I gotta say.
Oh, that was really funny.
I feel like we could do a whole show just on the times that you've been hurt since I've known you.
Listen, that's gonna have to be that's a different episode.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we could go. Because I'm remembering.
They
other
all
things.
know.
Yeah.
They all know.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's like the classic thing. It's like, oh, you hurt yourself? We're so shocked, Marissa.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And specifically, I'm going to shout out Gordon, who loves to make fun of me constantly. Like, I do my Facebook Live trivia, and it's like, I'll kind of talk about what's been going on for the week and whatever. And I think I did. I mentioned how I busted my toe on this steel shelf. By the way, if I didn't catch it when it happened, my foot would be, I don't even know if it'd be attached to my body at this point, because it was picture, like Home Depot, Lowe's, giant steel shelf, right? Mm-hmm. It's 4 bays of that we were rolling. All of that over my foot with all of the nails and screws and whatever still
like loaded up onto it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like thousands of pounds. Mm-hmm. Like, I would have lost a limb. Instead, my pinky toe kind of hurts. That's
okay. So you got off easy.
Yeah, I got off real easy.
I know. I think I saw you post about it, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, nobody's surprised. Like, I can't be like, hey, surprise, I hurt myself, because it's like, oh, wait, Monday went by and you didn't injure yourself at all? Like, that's amazing. So, yeah, the next time you're here, I think that might be the dealie right there.
I could start writing the list right now. After this, I'm going to pull out my handy dandy notebook and start jotting.
So, for bonus content, I want to just throw this out at you now before I forget. Kim and Kanye.
Yeah, okay.
Because I am sure that you have a lot of different feelings, because you've talked about Kanye a lot over the years, and I just have a feeling. I just know your monologues, so
I have had so many feelings about Kanye West since I started professionally in radio. Before that, I didn't really pay much attention to him. I thought he had one of the worst lyrics of like 2009 when he was featured on Forever by Drake, when he said, "Super bad chicks calling me McLovin. You'd think I ran the world like Michelle's husband." I was like, oh my God, that's so bad. It's so bad. But then I started
you're one of the greatest of all time.
I started on the hip hop station, and I started listening to him more. And I was like, actually, he's not a bad lyricist. He's pretty good. Like, he comes up with some really clever like puns and wordplay and basically dad jokes, and I am all about that. But just on a personal level, I thought he was kind of a pompous, arrogant jackass. Speaking of Michelle's husband, I believe he referred to him as a jackass. Then the whole the beef with Taylor Swift, and like when Kim Kardashian Snapchatted the video of the phone call,
yes,
where basically Taylor Swift was trying to set him up, and I will die on this hill, okay? I do not like Taylor Swift as a person. I like a lot of her music, and I used to like her as a person up until that moment, and I realized I've had this narrative basically completely backwards. Kanye is actually kind of a decent dude, and Taylor Swift is like a conniving, backstabbing witch, basically. But all that to say that, yes, indeed I have had a lot of feelings, thoughts and feelings like Kanye West.
Well, let's get to that. I want to thank you for being on this episode.
Yeah, no, I've been rambling and monologuing. My apologies.
It's not the rambles. It's not the rambles. But that's going to be bonus content. So make sure that you head over to Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, I thought we were in the bonus content. That's what was starting to pop off. See, I don't even know where I am, other than this in this recording studio. Is it a secret that it's in your basement? Because it's not anymore.
It's not a secret. Hello from Mars podcast. Search it on the socials. And you'll see this lovely mug. You can see more about that Kim and Kanye talk, and probably more if you head over to Instagram right now. Search Hello from Mars podcast, also on Facebook. And, guys, make sure you're subscribing and liking and following and leaving reviews and all that so we can keep getting to more people and having more fun and keep this pod alive. But, here's the thing. I like to kind of give you a little piece of wisdom here and there, and I know we're running a little bit longer than usual for this episode. But I know it's a really tough time for a lot of people. Even when we thought new year, new me, new things, new vaccine, just, a lot of positive change. It is going to happen. Like, the positive change is definitely going to be coming, but it's going to take a second, and in the meantime, we may feel like we're struggling a bit. And I'm not going to say that it's okay, but it kind of is okay. Like, we got to get through everything, and we will. But we got to be able to understand a few things. So I wrote something out that I want to read to you because I feel like it's important. So to see change, you must act. To deal with pain, you must feel. To grow, you must allow yourself to experience and persevere. And what I mean by that is, things are going to seem extremely tough. They're going to feel overwhelming and impossible, but you just got to keep going, okay? Making choices to benefit yourself, not to make things necessarily easier in the moment, but easier down the line and better for you down the line. So act on it and keep going. Take it one day at a time, or sometimes even one moment at a time, doing what you have to persevere and just keep going, because you're going to watch yourself come out the other side and you're going to be better, stronger, and more grateful for it. So take that for what you will. Those are my words of wisdom for the week. And thank you guys so much for joining me for Hello from Mars. Another episode is coming next Tuesday. And make sure you are subscribing right now. Oh, hey!